So I've really waited with anticipation for this inaugural lecture, because everybody knows that one of my favorite areas in terms of research, impact, engaging with industry and business, globally reaching out and changing the whole world of how services and processes are envisioned, is our Servitization group. And Professor Ali Bigdeli is really one of the stars of that group. He's been groomed and educated and developed properly by other leaders that are there, sitting in the second row. So this evening's speaker, Professor Ali Bigdeli, is a professor of industrial service innovation and also associate dean of research and enterprise here at Aston, at the Aston Business School within the Aston Business and Social Sciences College. He's also the co-director of the Advanced Services Group, a globally recognized center of excellence dedicated to advancing research, knowledge, and practice in service-led business models and servitization. Ali's interests lie in the organizational change and business model innovation brought about when organizations move towards providing outcome-based offerings rather than just selling products on a transactional basis. Ali is a recognized researcher, world-renowned for his work, and he is in fact one of the top 10 most highly cited scholars globally in the field of servitization. In the past 11 years, he has extensively engaged with both multinational and small to medium-sized companies, especially in manufacturing firms, to understand servitization in practice and help accelerate the adoption and implementation of advanced services. As part of his industry engagement activities, he has been the key member in founding a partnership of multinational manufacturing organizations and has developed and facilitated more than 50 hands-on workshops for the senior executives to explore and accelerate the adoption of servitization. Ali's academic career began at Azad University in Tehran, Iran, where he gained his Bachelor of Science in Electronic Engineering before moving to the UK to study for an MSc in Management and Information Systems at the University of Manchester. And following his MBA studies, he achieved his PhD in Management and Information Systems from Brunel University in London. He is a senior fellow of Advanced Chi, and he has an impressive publication track record in leading international journals with over 100 peer-reviewed publications to date. Most of this has been co-developed through close collaboration with leading scholars from various institutions and across the globe. Away from the university, Ali enjoys spending time with his family, watching football, and playing the piano. He is in the right place because his father completed his education at Aston 40 years ago, and we expect his son to enroll shortly. He's also a loyal and passionate Manchester United fan, a devotion that most likely influenced his decision to move to Manchester for his master's degree. He's joined here this evening with his wonderful wife, Nafis, and son, Tiam. You are both extremely welcome, and I hope you enjoy your evening with us tonight. So back to tonight. In his inaugural lecture at Aston University, Ali will deliver a talk on power of servitization to redefine business models for the 21st century. A bold statement. Let's see what that holds. Drawing on cutting-edge research, real-world examples, he will explore how this paradigm shift is being adopted across diverse industries, from large multinationals like Goodyear offering tire as a service, to SMEs supporting the NHS through disinfection as a service during the COVID-19 pandemic. The lecture will also address the significant organizational, technological, and cultural changes required to embrace servitization, as well as the strategic trade-offs and external impacts often overlooked in existing research. I'm therefore delighted to welcome Professor Ali Bigdeli to deliver his inaugural professorial lecture at Aston University on this wonderful, warm Birmingham evening, titled The Power of Servitization, Redefining the Business Models of the Future. Ali, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. I appreciate all the kind words. Good evening, everyone. Very warm welcome from me as well to Aston University, to Aston Business School, especially to our external guests. Sorry if I'm walking. I'm hoping that I'm not going to feel you dizzy. I just want to extend my gratitude to our Pro-Vice Chancellor and Executive Dean of our college, Professor Zoe Ratner, my colleagues from the school leadership and college leadership. We had a very busy day today on campus, so I really appreciate that you made time and you all came. It's a bit bittersweet for me that this talk and this event come a couple of years too late, so my mother could be around and see me giving this talk, because she played an absolute key role in the development of the whole thing. And I'm sure that she's now watching over me anyway. But I'm absolutely delighted to be able to join by my wife, Nafis and Tiam, and my brother is also online, so I can wave amongst all of you lovely people. So thank you. When I was asked to give this talk, I was thinking about how I should craft a story. What should I tell you tonight? And I realized that we've got a raft of different people from different disciplines, from different backgrounds. I've got families, friends, and all sorts of things. And I thought that I'm going to craft it in a way that it will resonate with most of you one way or another. So I'll focus on three main things. I will talk a little bit about myself, how I actually got into this topic of servitization. Then I'll move into tell you a little bit about the entity that I belong to at Aston University, which is my home at Aston University. It's called the Advanced Services Group. And I absolutely want to do that because I need to celebrate the success that we've had with the center. I was just telling colleagues that sometimes myself, some other colleagues, we will all get the credit, but the work that has gone behind the scene that sometimes don't get seen, it needs to be celebrated, and I'm planning to do that tonight. So a lot of the time that I'm going to be referring to as we rather than I, because I want to celebrate that. And the third and the most important part, I'm going to focus a little bit about the actual topic. So I'll tell you a little bit about what do we mean by servitization and some of the great stuff that Alex referred to. So if I want to tell you a little bit about how I got into servitization, I can refer to two occasions in my career. And each of those two occasions, they were kind of daunting scenarios that kind of pushed me to servitization. And the first one is this. Yes, that's me. Look young. I still had hair. Fresh out of university from Azad University in Tehran, graduated a Bachelor of Science in Electronic Engineering, and I got employed in an innovative small business where we were kind of like manufacturing, building vehicle location and monitoring systems for emergency cars. So we were basically providing those devices for like police cars, ambulances, emergency services back in Tehran. And I was in charge of assembling some of those assets, but also helps with the sale of those assets. And a couple of occasions, and that's about 20 odd years ago, a couple of occasions when I was trying to sell these things to clients, I was telling them about how fantastic this piece of technology is. This is a nice product, and I'm talking about 20 years ago. Look at this GPS, look at this device that it can go to the car, look at this piece of software that could go with it. And in two specific occasions, the operational director of the client came back and said, look, I don't really care about this product. All I care is just show me where my cars are. And on the way back to office, I started thinking about how stupid can you be of not being interested in the actual product, and all you care is about where your cars are. So I always had this challenge of why these people are just very much into outcome and not to the product. So fast forward, about 10 years later, I went back to academia, did my degree, MBA, and then I moved to a business school. I always wanted to stay in academia because of the family, both my parents. They were professors university, and I always wanted to be in academic environment. So I did my PhD in information systems, and I got employed as a postdoc into a project. That's not me, by the way. I got employed as a postdoc research fellow on a project at Bayes Business School in London. It used to be called CAS. It was a very large EPSRC project with Wellcome Trust, where we were looking at designing scalable assisted living technology. And we were looking at how we can use games and gamification to help patients with upper limb disabilities, those after strokes. Majority of those people after stroke, they get some sort of upper limb disabilities. And the project was about how we can use assisted living technologies and games to help them actually get back to life. And again, I experienced that issue that I had 10 years earlier. So I was part of the business model side of the projects, and we had meetings with NHS, with healthcare provider. We were taking all these devices with us to the meetings, and we were just trying to explain how this beautiful device is, look at the joysticks, look at the game, etc., etc. And again, in 2 occasions, quite directly and in a quite nasty way, one of the guys came back and say, you know what, I really don't care about this game or this device. All I care is just to get my patients back on the feet, back on the life. Again, heading back to university, we were talking to colleagues saying, how stupid these people are. They don't care about the products. Why is it just thinking about outcome? Yes, patients are important, but look at this piece of equipment. Yes, look at the... Very, very disappointed. And I soon realized there must be another way. There must be something else that I'm missing. So this project was coming into an end, and one of the postdocs that was sitting next to me, he came and said, we were all looking for new jobs and new positions. And he said, oh, by the way, have you seen this job? It's a senior research fellow. It's in this word topic. I don't know, we couldn't pronounce it, servitization, whatever that was. This might be something that you might be interested in. And I start looking at it. There wasn't any mention about the word business model, but I thought it might be that this is something that I've been missing for the past probably 10, 15 years, and this is something I need to explore. So then I had a call with the project manager of the project, who was Jill Holmes. I had a quick call. I applied, got shortlisted. I had a quite an interview with some of the people here, and I got the job on 11th of August. That's actually the first day of me joining Aston. Yes, I still look young, and yes, I still had hair. I'll tell you in what process I lost them. But I joined Aston on 11th of August 2014 as a senior research fellow on a project called Gamification for Servitization. And I joined a small team. This used to be my office, our office in the main building, in the corner of the second floor of the main building. And it was a group of around 4 or 5 of us in the center. It used to be called Aston Center for Servitization Research and Practice. My whole idea was, I'm going to stay for 6 months, maybe 9 months, because this is what I need to learn. And I'm going to learn a little bit about servitization, and I head over back to London because my girlfriend back then, Nafis, was in London, and I wanted to go back. And I think I made a really, one of the best decisions of my life that I didn't go back and I stayed, which I'm absolutely proud of. So We started small, 3 or 4 people looking at a couple of projects. And then a year later, about 2015, we start looking at positioning ourselves as a center and kind of redefine some of the focus of the center. And then we changed the name to the Advanced Services Group to become the powerhouse of servitization. And then the whole journey of Advanced Services Group started. So I'll tell you a little bit now about the center, who we are, what we do, before I dive into the actual topic of servitization. So the Advanced Services Group is the Center of Excellence in Servitization Research and Practice. We defined about 10 years ago, we defined 4 key pillars of activities, and I'm proud to say that we are still carrying on with those pillars in a different magnitude, which I'll tell you a little bit more. But as a group of researchers, of course, we're all about research on the topic. We do cutting edge research. And of course, we do training and partnership with businesses, which I'll tell you a little bit more. But we've got 3 key stakeholders as our beneficiaries. So from the one hand, we've got academics. So we deliver or we develop and publish cutting edge research on the topic of servitization from a variety of different perspectives. And I'll share some of them with you a little bit later. So huge impacts on academia. As Alex mentioned, amongst ourselves, collectively, we are the most highly cited scholars on the topic. And of course, in addition to our papers and publications, we run the conference on the topic of servitization. It's called the Spring Servitization Conference. And this is the conference that we bring together academics from around the world every year, every May. It's been running for the past probably 13, 14 years. And it's fascinating for me because we're bringing academics that's been traditionally very, very fragmented on the topic. So we bring them together every year, every May, and they're all coming from different backgrounds. They're coming from accounting and finance, from marketing, from operations, from entrepreneurship, but they're all interested in this topic of servitization. And this year we are hosting the conference in Liverpool, actually. We're coming back to the UK. So the second group of beneficiaries for me, for us, are of course our students. We are one of the very, very few institutions in globally that we've got a program on servitization. There are only very, very handful institutions in the world that actually offer module on servitization, and I'm absolutely proud of that. It's now offered at postgraduate and MBA level. I remember the first year we had about 3 or 4 students. Last year we had about 30. Most of our MBAs actually took that module, so that shows that how it's been grown. But a third group are actually the businesses that we are working with, the impacts that we've had on the industry. We have been working with over 450 businesses for the past 10, 12 years. I'm absolutely proud of that because I remember one of the very first kind of workshops that we did. It was part of an ERDF program that Ian was leading. And the funny story was, because it was my first time actually in West Midlands, and it was with a couple of SMEs from Black Country. And I went back, when I heard that word, I went back to the office and said, how racist can you be to really so vividly talk about Black Country? And I realized it's actually a region. So we have been working with over 450 businesses across the board, from large multinationals to small, medium-sized enterprises, from the ones that are very much 1 mile from campus to those that are located in the middle of nowhere, like Birmingham, Alabama. And this has been absolutely key for my research and for our research, because we have co-developed a lot of the research that we've done for the past probably 10, 15 years. They've been instrumental for the research that we've done. A lot of the logos that you can realize, I'll tell you a little bit about the examples, but I couldn't put all the logos, but this is all the name of the business that we've been working. And this is a proud moment for me and for us, because yes, so it's a lot of names. So we have either lived with these businesses. I want to say sorry to Nafis, but she had to leave. Kind of live with these businesses as they go through the adoption of servitization, or we had interaction one way or another. So training, partnership, and so on and so forth. So it's a very proud thing for us as a group. Now I want to move into the third element, which is actually the topic itself. And when I was thinking about how I should actually tell about servitization, again, I'm realizing we've got students in the room, my current and old students and colleagues from my same school, the same school and other schools. So I thought that to keep it high level, but I was thinking about the ways in which I should craft it. And I thought it would be best if I just focus on the key messages that we actually put it in this book. As you know, the book came out last year. Servitization strategy, probably the highlight of my academic career, probably after I got my chair, but this is the highlight of my academic career. It's the product of lots of disagreements, lots of agreements, lots of debates, lots of funny illustrations that have gone into the book, lots of illustrations that didn't get into the book. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It took us about 2 or 3 years to put it off with Tim and Carol, and it actually provides and summarizes most of the key things that we've done with business and most of the research that we've done for the past 10 years or so. So it's a single product that actually has got all the material. And in this book, we talk about the what, the why, and the how. And I'll touch base on these 3 elements as I go along. So let me define servitization advanced services. We've come across 5 different businesses, all of us, I guess. There are businesses out there that they make money as their customers pay for the products, right? Lego. You walk into a Lego, you buy a box, and off you go. So the company gets paid. There are some companies that they make money when the customers actually repair the products. Quick Fit. If you've come across Quick Fit, you can take your car, fix it, and off you go, and they get paid. And there are businesses that they make money when they repair their products or other people's products. Schneider is one of the companies that they do repair like escalators or lifts. So they do get paid for that. There are businesses out there that they make money when their customers actually uses their products. Zipcar is one of the ones that you can actually go, rent the car, you pay for it, and off you go. And ultimately, there are businesses that they make money as the customers actually gets the outcome so they can succeed. And there are so many examples which I'll share tonight, is Michelin, that it keeps the tire on the road, that keeps the truck on the road. And the whole journey is what we refer to as servitization. So in a very, very kind of like a layman term, not research or academic term, servitization is the fine art of convincing customers that they don't really need to own things. Just pay if you get the outcome, just like Netflix or Spotify in industrial context. The origin of servitization, the term servitization came out in a publication in 1988, in a publication, in a paper published in the European Management Journal. And the authors of the paper were talking about bundling services into products. They were looking at it heavily from a commercial perspective as to how companies can actually compete through bundling of services and products. But kind of the term servitization got forgotten one way or another for about a decade or so, and it got picked up again probably 10 years later by a group of colleagues up in Cranfield, led by my colleague, friend, boss, mentor, who's changed role, Professor Tim Baines. He's changed role for the past 10 years in my academic career. Led by Tim, And they were looking at the competitiveness of UK manufacturing, what else the UK manufacturing should do to be able to compete with low-cost economies. And they start looking back at servitization and looking at services as one of the competitive strategies that UK manufacturing should be used to be able to compete and win the competition. So we got lots of tractions again, lots of publications came out. If you look at the previous, probably the past 10, 12 years, or a bit more, 15 years, there's been lots of different terminologies that have been used to explain what we refer to today as servitization. So colleagues in Scandinavia, they are referring to product service systems. They're looking at the sustainability aspects. Or we've got colleagues that German colleagues looking at Industry 4, design thinking, etc., etc. And from kind of the practice community, we've seen different terminologies being used to also explain. What we believe is that servitization is an umbrella term that can be used to define this transformation. When you talk about services that a company can provide to the customers, there are three types of services that any business then can provide to their customers. There are these base services, which the outcome actually referred to the product provision. These are warranties, spare parts, product provisions. There are intermediate services, which are around training, help desk, repair and overhaul. And there are these advanced services, which we are very much interested in and which we are actually focusing on. Let's watch a quick video that explains much better than I do.
A brief introduction to advanced services. In traditional product-based business models, manufacturers produce a range of products that customers can choose from. Upon purchase, it is the customer who is responsible for the product, its performance, and its maintenance and repair. The customer must also decide when to replace the product at the end of its life and how to dispose of it. In advanced services contracts, the manufacturer provides the product as part of a service offering, while retaining ownership of and responsibility for the product. The manufacturer is responsible for identifying the best solution for creating the outcomes the customer needs, and ensuring that these outcomes are created by developing a deep understanding of the customer and how to add value for their business. It is the manufacturer who monitors the use and performance of the product and intervenes to ensure that performance is maintained. It is also the manufacturer who decides when and how to replace the product without interrupting the performance that has been guaranteed to the customer. Advanced services change the relationship between the manufacturer, customer, and product. For the manufacturer, they provide long-term relationships with customers, a stable revenue stream, and an opportunity for the manufacturer to apply its expertise beyond the design and manufacture of products. For the customer, advanced services provides an opportunity to limit capital expenditure, reduce their risks, and to enjoy the expertise of the manufacturer over an extended period. For further information, visit the Advanced Services Group website.
So when we talk about servitization, we are really talking about two big changes inside any firm. And I'll focus on each of them quite quickly. The first one is about business models. It's about understanding what type of new business models are required. When I joined Aston in 2014, I realized that the research and the literature really doesn't focus on servitization and business models. And I spot the opportunity. But what happened was, it took me about probably 12, 13 months to convince my colleagues that we should look at servitization from business model perspective. And each time I was like, yes, we will look at it. Let's focus on this. Let's focus on a little bit of the strategy, operation strategy. We will come back to it. He was brilliant in doing that. But I don't know what happened. 12, 13 months later, probably the penny dropped, I don't know. Then we said, we're going to focus on servitization from business model perspective too. So it was a big success for me because then I could drive my agenda as well. The only thing was, I'd lost all of my hair. But it was a success at least. So when you think about business model, the literature talks about three key components of a business model and one outcome of it. So basically, what are you providing to your customers? What is the offering? How you actually deliver that offering to your customers? How are you going to make money out of it? What's the revenue model? How are you going to charge the customers? And ultimately, how do these three key components will help you to stand out in the competition? So what do you deliver, how you deliver it, how are you going to make money out of it, and what does it help you to stand out in competition? That applies to any sort of businesses or even university as well. So if you focus on just the value propositions and focus on servitization and services, I shared with you there are three types of services, and this goes into a little bit about more details around those three types of services. So you've got those product-related services, which is about we supply products, we supply spare part of the products. These are base services that I mentioned. Then you've got what I refer to as intermediate services, which is around product break-fix. We restore the condition of the products. We guarantee our performance in restoring the products. And performance advisory services, which you put lots of different sensors around different machines, around different products. You monitor the use of the machines, you capture a lot of data, you analyze the data, you're able to provide advice back to the customers as to how they can use their products better. But ultimately, our interest and my interest is around these advanced services, which is really about guaranteeing the outcome of the product, or guaranteeing the outcome of the business process, or guaranteeing of the whole platform, which I'll give you more example on that. Most of the research and the business that we have been working with are in this area, and our aspiration, the business aspirations and the research that we are trying to carry on is about expanding that, actually focusing on the spectrum of different types of services that are out there with the focus on advanced services. The classic example of advanced services is Rolls-Royce Power by the Hour, which we all heard about probably. In a layman term again, I think it used to be American Airlines 30 years ago came to Rolls-Royce saying, look, we can't really afford to buy your expensive engines. Give us something that we can move our passengers from A to B. We don't have the capacity, we don't have the knowledge. If something happens to the engines, it's very expensive for us to actually repair it and maintain it. So they went away, they came up with the idea of this Power by the Hour, which is about availability contracts. So they are now charging most of the airlines based on the mileage that are taking the passengers from A to B. Another example which we all can relate to is boiler as a service, right? So you can probably get a boiler in the house, and boiler as a service at the bottom level of the advanced services is about reliable supply of hot water, right? So that's the advanced services at the level of the product. You can go even further and not just get the boiler as a service, but you can get heat as a service, which is about getting hot water, but also getting heat in your home, or the temperature that you want at home. And ultimately, it's about comfort as a service, which is about not just getting the hot water, not just getting the heat, but also getting other stuff that you would need at your home. So become a smart home, for a better phrase. And this is not very much hypothetical, because a couple of businesses that we've been working with are actually experimenting a lot of these propositions. So these are the three examples of those services. Another example, which is very close to my heart, probably our heart, is Goodyear. I think it was 2013, 2014, a group of very senior executives from Goodyear with a corporate jet, I believe, came to Birmingham, came to Aston for us to help them to understand how servitization is actually happening in practice. Because they had come across Tim's book, Made to Serve, and they wanted to know how they can actually apply it in their practice. And I got very, very close to that project and to that business at the very senior level, and I started to kind of study as they started to implement. And one of the things which was fascinating for me was, for about 13 months, I had calls every Friday, 1:30 to 2 o'clock, with the Global Chief Innovation Officer of Goodyear, every Friday, just half an hour to see, okay, what did you do? What happened last week? And we captured all the data, and a lot of it actually been presented in the book. So the magnitude of the data we capture through that. And then they started to actually implement with us a lot of these new services. So they started to do lots of tire pressure, temperature monitoring. They moved away from this mindset of, we're now selling you a tire, which is a black rounded rubber thing, into keeping the trucks on the roads. And I want to say that we played an absolute key role in their transformation. So they rolled out this business, this part of the business in Europe around 2016, 2017, and they went out and actually implemented globally last year. So actually they appointed a vice president of Tire as a Service. It's a good moment, isn't it? I look back, the guy I used to talk to, Jim Eichner, I don't know, he might be online, he retired, and I immediately sent that note to him saying, oh, Dave Funny, and he said, finally. Because every week that I was talking to him, he was saying, oh, it's so challenging. It's a lonely place. When you are in a product manufacturer, when you talk about services, it is a lonely place. And every week he was saying, I don't know whether I'm going to be in the business next week. I'm here, and I was waiting in the conference call, and he picked up, oh, so you are here this week, and carrying on and on and on. But it was a success at the end, and they actually played a big role in our REF impact case study that we submitted last round with their endorsement of our activities, and that actually helped us to achieve a 4-star REF impact case. And there are other examples that I'm not going to bore you with. I'm not going to go through all of them. For example, you've got lighting as a service, Philips. Most of you have been to Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam. All the lightings are actually lighting as a service and a lighting as a service contracts. So they manage everything through technology and AI now. Yeah, there are other examples out there. Baxi, we've been working very closely, heat as a service and comfort as a service. So these are other examples that are out there. They're actually implementing some of these strategies and some of these business models. So quickly, if I wanted to move into the organizational change part, which is around different capabilities, different processes, different boundaries that are required. A couple of years ago, Tim and I did a study of around 15 large multinationals to understand how these companies have actually gone about the journey of servitization. What did they do to actually develop and implement these types of services? And we studied all these businesses. We had 3 painful rejections from 3 different journals, back and forth, with some funny comments. Some of them even said, go and read this work by Baines and Bigdeli's. So we are Baines and Bigdeli's. It was damning. It was painful. See that probably we didn't give justice to our work sometimes. But yeah, so finally we managed to publish this work because it actually started to drive a lot of the activities with the businesses, and it gave us a perspective not to just the businesses, but for our team, for internal team as well, about what is it that we're talking about. And the model, it doesn't look as beautiful as this in the paper, but this is what we developed, what we could see in the businesses that we've studied. There are 4 distinct stages of transformation when companies go through servitization. Imagine from one side, you've been only providing products. Now you're moving into outcomes. What are the journeys? What are the stages that the companies go through? So the first stage is about exploration. It's the stage that companies actually started to hear about a new business model, started to hear there are other ways, like me starting to hear there are other ways, that it's not just about products. There are other ways that we can actually be competitive, that we can actually make money. So there are a couple of activities that you can see here. Once they get some ideas around, yes, this might be the right way for us to do, they go into the engagement phase. And the engagement phase is all about getting engagement, not just internally from their organizations, but actually go out and test it with some of their customers. to see whether some of these offerings actually resonate with their customers. Once they get some traction with the customers, some success in working with their customers, they move into the expansions where they roll out their business models. When they roll out other part of the business model, it's not just about the offering, but they start testing how we're going to charge the customers, how we're going to actually expand beyond just a value proposition. And ultimately, after they've had some success, they move into what we refer to as exploitation, where services become part of the bloodline of the business. And there are not very many businesses are out there that we can say they're in that stage. So these are the Rolls-Royce of this world, which is about over 50% of the revenue actually comes from services. And this is the stage that actually, I can say that saved Rolls-Royce when we had COVID. They didn't get a lot of publicity because they were saying, oh, all the flights are grounded, how they're going to make money, etc., etc. But services actually was something that actually saved them, to be honest, which we can go through the details. So these are the 4 distinct stages of transformation that companies go through, and the pace in which the companies go through these stages are affected by 4 forces. So the market pull and technology push, which is the classic innovation type literature talks about, do we have the right technology to be able to develop these services? Do we have customers' appetite? If we have these services for our customers, do we have appetite from customers? Are they mature enough to actually that we can speak to them about services? So there's always this trade-off between market pull and technology push. Of course, it's about the organizations. Do we have the right people in the organizations? Do we have the right leadership inside the organizations that we can actually start developing some of these services? And ultimately, the partners that we work with, do we have the right partner in place? And there are different trigger points that the companies that we studied, there were different trigger points that why companies actually started to move towards servitization. And I observed 3 things. One is the leadership-led. So the executives come in and say, this is the direction that we need to move towards servitization. It was the case of MAN Truck and Buses. The CEO came and said, we're going to move towards services. You're either on board or you're out, basically. The other example is Volvo Constructions. Up in Sweden, they said, we're going to do it. The CEO came out and said, we're going to give you the opportunity, we're going to train you. After that, you either stay or you go, basically. So that's one. The other way of companies, the trigger points could be about the technology. Goodyear and Michelin came across a piece of technology that they thought, oh, we can do more for our customers with implementing that piece of technology around their tires. So that was a trigger for them to start their journey. And ultimately, the third trigger point is around competition. You see another companies doing it, say, oh, we're missing the boat, we should do something. So those are the 3 things, the 3 trigger points that the companies actually go through it. So I want to tell you a little bit about why servitization matters. I'm not going to bore you with that. There's a short video that we can all watch very quickly. But we refer to this diagram as octopus diagram. I'm not sure why in the book. But there are 4 key areas of why servitization matters. Why we just keep banging on about servitization. Why is it that we're pushing research and engagements and students that this is the future? You need to focus on this. Why? And these are the things that we envisage in the book, and they've been corroborated with lots of data in the book. So there's the performance arguments, which is about revenue. So you can bulletproof because you're not just going to be making money from the products, you're going to be making money from products and services. Profitability and productivity, of course. There's a growth element of it. You start serving new customers, new markets. You're entering new markets with your services. Of course, there's an argument around exports with the whole, especially for the UK, the whole idea around Brexit. We face a lot of challenges with that. It seems to us, after studying lots of businesses, the barriers are less for services compared to products when it comes to it. And ultimately, it's about the new product development into the market. There's an element around resilience arguments. So these are all long-term 10-year contracts. So you are able to actually lock in your customers and lock out the competitors. So basically you will become more resilient for anything that might happen. And ultimately it's about sustainability.
A brief introduction to advanced services and carbon net zero. Governments and companies are trying to make industry more sustainable without threatening the economy. It's increasingly clear that incremental changes in technologies will not provide the speed of change needed. A more dramatic change in business models is needed to create value for industry, its customers, and the environment. Advanced services is such a business model. In traditional models of production, manufacturers benefit from selling as many new products as possible. But there is a limited stake in these machines once they leave the factory, and their long-term efficiency is not the main concern to the manufacturers. Furthermore, once the machines reach their end of life, the manufacturer is often unaware of what happened to them. With advanced services, the key change is that manufacturers retain ownership of their products, which are provided through long-term services contracts. This means the manufacturer is incentivized to design machines that are long-lasting and easy to service, thus reducing the rate with which they are discarded. Manufacturers will also need to monitor their machines to make sure they are running as efficiently as possible to provide value to their customers, thus reducing emissions. And when these machines do finally reach the end of their life cycles, manufacturers will take them back to be recycled, or possibly even upcycled to other customers with different needs. Advanced services provide a business model that changes the relationship between the manufacturer and the customer, from occasionally selling products to providing long-term sustained value. In doing so, it makes it possible for manufacturers to use their expertise to make their industry and their customers more efficient and sustainable. For further information, visit the Advanced Services Group website.
Just a couple of more slides and I'll finish it. I want to answer the question about the how. If you remember, I talked to you about two big changes inside the organizations, from the business model side and from the organizational change side. And for a good couple of years, Tim and I have been struggling to understand which one should come first, which one is actually happening inside which organization. We were struggling, weren't we? And then we had, within those lots of disagreements about the detail of the book, we had those aha moments when he was in the woods and doing some woodwork, that realized it's actually, both of them are happening, but not at the same time. So what we realize is what we refer to as our whale diagram, believe it or not. So everything starts with the business model. The shift towards servitization starts with the business model. Start with understanding the customers, what do they need, new customer segments, new value propositions, and that's the blue line. When you're testing these sort of things, when you're testing the customers, when you're looking at whether the customers actually buy these things, you don't need the whole organization. You don't need the whole organization to change. You only need a very few people inside the organization to actually help you to shape it. When you get to the point that you've had some success with the clients, with the customers, then you need to bring the whole organization with you. Then you need to go to the more senior people inside the organization and get their approval. Say, okay, you need to bring the whole organization with you. And I think we've all experienced it in our kind of not related servitization as well. If you are at the university, if you're doing a project, small projects require a small team, and you need to test whether that small thing actually works for our students, for our beneficiaries. And once we are in the point that, yes, this is the way forward, then you bring the whole organization with you. And that's what exactly happening. So the blue line is the business model side, and the orange one is about the organization. So when you get to the point that you feel that this is the right thing, that we've got the right customers, etc., then you move the whole organization with you to drive the whole agenda forward. And it's not just happening once. There are a couple of these business models that could happen simultaneously, one after the other. And then you take the whole organization with you. And this is what we've seen in the successful examples, the businesses that have had success with servitization. I'm just going to move quite quickly So 2 more slides and then I will wrap up. I try to explain tonight a little bit about who I am, how I got into the topic, and a little bit about my colleagues. All of them are here. We started very much organic. There was 3 or 4 of us. Now the core group of us is around 30, believe it or not. So, and I'm absolutely proud of the whole team. So I think these 3 actually summarizes what we have done, what we've achieved for the past 10, 15 years or so. So we've been enabled to provide the language. A lot of the businesses have been doing these things without knowing what they do. It's like lean. The group of scholars move into like Toyota, they look at this, oh, this is lean, and they start using the word lean afterwards. We were able to provide that language, not just to industry, but also to academia as well. We provide the frameworks, and these frameworks have been developed through collaboration with businesses because we didn't want to do blue sky thinking. I know there are a lot of my colleagues at Aston and other places, they are brilliant scholars. They publish fantastic papers. I'm not like them. I'm somewhere in between. I'm an engager of scholars. I want to see, it's not that not everyone does it, but most of the papers that I've done, they're empirical papers because I want to see how the things that I'm talking about actually gets implemented in real life. And the third one is about providing decision tools. And we, a couple of years ago, we decided to develop what we refer to as mini guides. And in these mini guides, you've got actually hands-on tools and decision tools that helps businesses to actually implement those frameworks that we've developed. So these are the 3 things that we have done for the past couple of years. And the final slide, you would be pleased to hear. What's next for us? I think, of course, the journey continues. As I said, we started very organic. We didn't have any direct investment up front. It would have been nice to have one, of course, but we didn't have. And everything has been around like grants, ESRC, EPSRC, Innovate UK, and companies' kind of donations and helps. But there's still a very long way to go for us. It is still, I don't want to say we are at the start, but certainly there's a long way for us to go. And the stuff that I'm going to share, I'm absolutely delighted because I've shared it with Zoe and Alex and other colleagues, that I believe with the current direction of Aston, that most of these can be achieved through the help of the whole system, basically. The first one is about establishing us, ASG, as the central hub of the servitization ecosystem. We have been working mostly with the provider of services, and soon we realized that we need to work with the receiver of the services as well as other key stakeholders in this. One of the examples of this is actually, it's not announced, I know this is live, but I'm going to say it. We've recently just won a grant to work with the NHS as a receiver of service, and I'm absolutely proud of that, because that not only we're going to be working with businesses that are providing the services to the NHS, but we're directly going to work with the NHS as a receiver of those services. And there are so many other actors involved in that. There are regulators there are legal financiers in there, etc., etc. It's a massive challenge. And this is something that's close to us because we can have impact on that. And this is something that we are going to be investing. The second one is about expanding our impacts. This is something that I can be honest, that our impact has been on academics, scholars, our students, our industry, not much on policy. And for one reason or another, that hasn't really happened. And this is one of the key things that is right on my agenda, to actually start focusing on key sectors, but also trying to influence policy because it has potential. We've got a massive projects with ESRC projects where we're looking at the impacts of servitization on productivity and sustainability. This is a high-profile project for us. And I believe, I'm hoping through that projects, we can influence policy. The third one is about expanding the reach. We've been working very closely with businesses, with the scholars in Europe, and of course in the US, but not much beyond that. And with all this stuff, good things that are happening at Aston University, with all the creative and innovative ways of like omni-channel, the countries that we are actually getting to, Vietnam, India, Singapore, I think there are opportunities for us to actually expand our operations to those places. And ultimately, you will be amazed if you hadn't heard about AI. That would certainly be right up in our agenda. From two perspectives. One is about understanding how AI can help businesses to develop and implement and adopt servitization business model, but also creating an AI agent for servitization, like what we have at Aston is called Ada. So you can go there and you can ask your questions. There's a danger with that. That would mean that if that model started to develop itself for a number of years, people may not come to us anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. As Ali said, I am Professor Zoe Radnor. I am the Pro-Vice Chancellor and Executive Dean of the College of Business and Social Sciences. Well, that was a fantastic talk. I know we talked a lot about it before, but it was accessible, interesting and informative. Absolutely brilliant. It was about you, your journey and your research, showcasing the effective impact that you've had on academia, students and industry, which is absolutely brilliant. I love the fact that your history has kept you in the family in terms of your parents as well, being academics. That's wonderful. And I have absolutely no doubt they will be exceptionally proud of everything you've achieved and your talk this evening. You have absolutely built the servitization business model. There's no question. And as you said, that is the true DNA of what Aston University is all about developing applied research that makes a difference to society. And it's absolutely true that your research has done that. So congratulations. I love the fact that you've gone from products to outcomes, from manufacturing to services, and on a personal level, you've gone from that researcher to a full-blown professor. So congratulations, Ali. Congratulations.
Thank you.
As has now become a tradition, on the evening of an inaugural lecture by a new professor, I'd like to invite Professor Alex Subic to come back up to give you a small momentum of your evening.
So this is the inaugural Professorial Lecture Medal. All of our professorial new professors receive this. It's engraved with your name and a token of appreciation, but also a memento of tonight. But also, it's not every day that someone becomes a professor at Aston University. It's a keeper. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you a lot. Lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And now we'd like to invite you all to go outside to chat to Ali and to network and have a drink and some conversation on the back of that absolutely fascinating and informative lecture. Thank you very much, Ali. Thank you.